everybody, and welcome to my video about The Mandalorian Season 3 and Season 3 finale. So I have a lot of emotions in regards to this. This season has been not the best, I'm not gonna lie. It's also sprouted a lot of debate about the show in regards to stunt casting for episodes, which it was sort of the Love Boat in space, with the Lizzo and Jack Black being with Christopher Lloyd in that episode that we all saw. But I didn't mind it so much. It's something that's happened. It was distracting because it just was really overt. But my biggest complaint about this season is the fact that it was just a lot of great things in it. Giancarlo Esposito rules everything he's in. The stuff they did with Grogu and IG-11 was great. Having Babu Frick and company, if it was Babu Frick, may not have been, that all was amazing. The Mandalorian storyline, Bo-Katan, I want a Bo-Katan series. We kind of had that here because it was really about Bo-Katan the whole season. It was sort of like, I guess, payback from Boba Fett, since Mando kind of took over his show for a little bit. This one, this season, as we can definitely tell, Pedro Pascal wasn't on set or in the suit, most likely at all. Was just voicing the character because he was off filming The Last of Us. And it hurt the show. At least to me. I kind of like seeing Pedro Pascal's face, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. I get the whole not taking the helmet off thing as part of the creed, but it's hard to have a series where you don't at least get to see your star once. And this season was the first time we've never seen him at all. There was also very inconsistent writing. There was just so much stuff, especially in the last two episodes, that made absolutely no sense at all. I don't know if this was sort of like their ability or desire to play with our what we think is going to happen with it and our expectations of the show, but just a lot of things made no sense at all. And I want to talk about, especially in the finale, what happened that really bothered me. First of all, and spoilers here, if you haven't seen the finale yet, it just came out at midnight last night. I wanted to wait for at least a while today for it to go out and for people to be able to see it before I did this reaction video and review video. So spoilers. So if you didn't already know, the penultimate, I can talk, episode of the show was called The Spies. Now, that title made, again, the expectations thing. We had already felt some sort of, distrust in the armor at that point. There was a lot of reasons to think that the gang, the fleet, if you will, or infantry that Bo-Katan got winning back or fighting with the Darksaber, would betray her. And then at the end of that episode of The Spies, we're trying to suss out who's the spy, who's going to betray who. And at the end of that episode, we have Moff Gideon walk out, big old strong ass performance by Giancarlo Esposito in that amazing armor, the black dark trooper armor made with the Beskar, and he has the helmet that looks like a crown. It just is amazing. I want the action figure. Best thing in the show this season, bar none. So he walks out. You have all the new trooper armor already created for Beskar as well. They have all the bells and whistles that Mandalorians have. And it ends with Paz Vizsla taking it for the team and the door closing and Mando being taken away to be tortured, as you will. So at the end of that episode, the armorer has gone off to take injured Mandalorians to the fleet. You've got everybody is trapped and freaking out, and you've discovered that Moff Gideon has been using Mandalore as a base of operations for this whole time, and that's how the episode ends. No spies at all. What the hell with the title? And so as we go into the next episode, the finale, again, no spies. Nothing's going on that would indicate anybody was betraying anyone in the Mandalorian group. Why name it that? That title made no sense. So with this episode, the finale is called The Return. So you're setting up expectations again, because everybody that saw that title thought, oh my God, we're getting Thrawn. Well, kind of figured we probably wouldn't. It didn't lend itself to that, but I guess this was supposed to indicate the return to Mandalore. Okay. But again, subverting expectations, most likely trying to throw one in with that title. Again, though, the episode named The Spies, literally no payoff, no nothing, makes no sense, no logical reason to name it that. Could have been anything else at all. Don't know. But this episode, again, we end up with somehow Grogu in his battle armor IG-11 robot gets to the Mandalorian to save him. How? Because at the end of that last episode, the doors had closed and sealed and cut off everyone. Paz Vizsla was by himself. So if Grogu had somehow stayed behind the door when it closed to where he was on the side where the Mandalorian was, did he just leave Paz Vizsla to die with 3 Praetorian guards killing him? Wow, what a dick move, Grogu. So I don't know how Grogu, continuity-wise, got to the Mandalorian. It made no sense. How the hell did he do that? There was no way of seeing that. And so yeah, it just made no sense. If that was the case, why wouldn't the rest of the Mandalorians have come back through and saved Paz Vizsla? So that just was really strange. And as the episode progresses, we discover literally that's it. That's the bare bones of it, was Moff Gideon making clones of himself with force powers and apparently lying to everyone about him wanting to do clone work, which was really his ruse all along, which is not a big surprise. Mandalorian Din Djarin takes them out like that with no problem, just hits some buttons and unfloods the cases and lets the clones die, even though one opened his eyes. Creepy. And then the fight between everyone happens as you would expect. They crash the Star Destroyer to destroy the base. Again, it was really awesome to see the Mandalorians fight like that. That whole thing was amazing. Great stuff. really amazing stuff, beautifully shot, beautifully done effects wise. Bo-Katan and Moff Gideon, of course, fight it out, and she has the Darksaber, which he then crushes after all of this drama and story that was all about getting that weapon. He even asks for it back. He crushes it, which is sort of crazy to think. I'm assuming they really went full tilt with having him be Vader-esque, because he even makes Vader sound effects as he's walking and going to do things. It's almost like I even asked my husband as we were watching this, did I miss something that when he had got his escape out of the ship, which we still don't know who got him out, I guess his own troopers. They never really went into that detail. And that's why the Beskar was there. Again, subverting expectations, thinking that a Mandalorian was actually going to be working with him. Again, I still think the armor would make way more sense than it just being not explained as how they could create that armor without someone skilled in how to do it. And they never go into that. But again, who knows how they made the armor? They got the secrets of how to use Beskar, because wasn't the armor like the only one around that could do that at this point? Again, no explanation for that. Continuity, we don't care. So after he somehow crushes the Darksaber, which I'm assuming means the Kyber crystal inside of it, which I think that was what powered that as well, is destroyed. After that being the impetus of his entire thing with Bo-Katan, was wanting that Darksaber and getting it back. Place blows up. Moff Gideon goes out going rah, and as he's fried to death in his armor, and Grogu force powers his way through the flames, and the forge is relit, and the Mandalorians are back on Mandalore. Guess that's your return. We end with Din Djarin adopting Grogu, which you kind of thought he already had him as his kid, but no, apparently he has to go through this. I will adopt him formally. And they mention Grogu's parents, who may or may not still be alive, which is like, are they going to talk about Yoda or Yaddle? No. Grogu has a moment of connection to the mythosaur. Then they go back to Navarro, and he gets his little parcel of land, and IG-11 is rebuilt to be the sheriff or marshal of Navarro, which I don't know if that's a good idea or not. But he also makes a deal with the New Rebellion, or New Republic, if you will, to do jobs for them at his own choosing what jobs he'll do, because he's got a kid now, which never stopped him before doing crazy stuff, but whatever. So it ends with this cutesy, almost cartoony little shot of Grogu torturing a frog, because he apparently hates them and likes to flip them around and what have you, and we think that's fine that he tortures wildlife, which is a sign of being a psychopath, but okay. It was a cute scene, but didn't feel right for a show where we just saw a man fried to death in his armor, and lots of people dying, torture. Dr. Pershing, we don't know what happened with him. That's still dangling out there. Again, we still don't know who the spies were, which was the title of that episode. We don't know who designed the armor or helped Moff Gideon out. We're just going to go on faith with the show that, he just knew how to do it, which is not going along with anything that we've been told really about how the Mandalorians work. And literally they had everything. They had the flamethrower, they had the rope out of the wrist, all of that. They had everything that the Mandalorians had. And yet we don't know who made it for them, except Moff Gideon knew how to do it, I guess. So on top of everything else, you know, we had a very short finale, which from what I remember and what I've read, this was the same length of time as the season 2 finale, which is probably one of the best finales of a TV series, especially Star Wars specific, in a very, very long time, with Luke showing up. And it's hard to beat that. I get that. But with this episode, if you hadn't wasted 25 to 30 minutes of the 35-minute episode that you had with Lizzo and Jack Black and Christopher Lloyd on a planet that literally made no, headway in the main storyline other than the last 5 freaking minutes of the episode, you could have literally added another 25 minutes to this, flushed out the story, given us like what was really happening, explained yourself, given us more guts to it. And also, if you're going to here's the thing, I'm all over the place, but so was the show. So we know that Ahsoka's coming, and this entire season felt like somebody's attention was somewhere else. Pedro Pascal was off filming an entire other show, so he literally only voice worked this. He may have been on set a little bit, but we don't know that because literally no helmet removed. So the stunt guys are amazing, don't get me wrong, but the Mandalorian is supposed to be played by Pedro Pascal in terms of at least showing up on screen at least once. Come on. So that didn't happen. So that felt weird. Bo-Katan was the focus of this entire season, which is fine, but it's called the Mandalorian specifically for Din Djarin, and he felt like it was kind of a payback for the Boba Fett show because he was his own, secondary character in his own show, which is weird and odd. But also it felt like the focus of this season was not focused. It was a little bit everywhere. It felt messy. And especially with the continuity issues of the last few episodes, really messy. Like, we're not even going to explain how Grogu got through a wall that everybody ran away from and couldn't get through, and we left a guy to die that cut us off. Not going to explain it. We're not going to explain where, who the so-called infiltrators are. We're not going to explain how Moff Gideon was able to create Mandalorian armor and armaments without having his own armorer. They could, tell me if I'm wrong, that they did not set that up as the armor was betraying them. Even my dog is like, ugh. But seriously, come on. You have to have at least some explanation. I get that this is Star Wars. There's a lot of it is supposedly for kids, but you have an episode called The Return, which I get they're returning to Mandalore, but they've already been back on Mandalore at this point a few times in this season. You could have, and here's my thought of what would have happened and would have been great, is if you're going to have an episode and your finale is going to be called The Return, and you have a new series coming called Ahsoka, and you've got Grogu stuck, not able to help his daddy get out and who is at risk, use your Jedi powers, kid. You're part Jedi now, you're part Mandalorian, you're like the hybrid, and you use your Jedi powers to call someone to help you stop the bad. And here comes Ezra. Ezra comes in, not Ezra Miller. Ezra comes in, Jedi Ezra shows up, helps save the day, helps you, and that feeds right into Ahsoka. And you have Thrawn show up at the end as an after credit sequence to go, woo, here I am. And literally, you would have had a more a more concrete story. It would have fed into the other shows, and you would have had it make more sense. It would have been more dramatic. Instead, yeah, we've got some really great, cool battle sequences. Yeah, I love the thing with the shields and all of that. But the lack of logic and the plot holes are so big that goddamn Star Destroyer could have went right through them. They're that big. And it still feels like the focus of everyone involved was somewhere else. Katie Sackhoff killed it. I would watch a Bo-Katan show in a minute. And in fact, I did an entire season of a Bo-Katan show. That's what this was. And that's fine. But again, the lack of focus on your main character and all of these story holes made this season the weakest I think I've ever seen. And I have been a proponent and fighter for this show. I love The Mandalorian. I love Grogu, Din Grogu now. I love everything about it. And yet I had to give it to the fact that this season was not great at all. It was really disappointing because it had so much potential. And what sucks is it was awesome and yet disappointing. There were so many really great moments in this, but great moments interspersed with just not logical storytelling and disinterested feeling moments. Katie Sackhoff can only carry so much. Grogu can only carry so much. Giancarlo Esposito can only carry so much. When your main character is sort of not really your main character anymore, and you have aspects of an entire storyline through a season that aren't explained at all, it just makes no sense. And so season 3 of The Mandalorian was not great. And sadly, just, I don't even know when the next season's going to be. Probably not for another 2 years, especially if your main star is filming another show. Yeah. And especially if you're just, the other part of this too that kind of ruined it for me a lot was with the fact that you had the two groups coming together. I thought for 1 second at least, or one moment in solidarity, they'd all take their helmets off just so we could see them. But no, they didn't do that either. So the whole, cultish aspect of the Mandalore is still there. But yeah, it felt like a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of just disinterested storytelling, and just a lot of wasted opportunity that they could have done with it. But it felt like, I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and those guys were just more focused on Ahsoka, your new shiny toy that you're going to have, which I'm excited for. But it just felt like the diverted attention for that took away from this 3rd season, which an entire season of The Mandalorian just became filler. It would have been more in line and probably just more respectful to Bo-Katan, aka Katie Sackhoff, just to give her own miniseries. Just have that be it, but I guess in a way they kind of did, just like they did with Boba Fett. And instead of giving it all to Boba Fett, they made it Mandalorian season 3.1. But I guess they felt that was enough of a content to make it okay for this to be the season 3 officially. So anyway, that's my reaction to Mandalorian season 3. You had a great villain in Moff Gideon, and with the fact that he had multiple clones, I don't think he's actually completely gone. Giancarlo Esposito, right there, my prom date, was fantastic and is always great in everything he's in, and I want that action figure. Katie Sackhoff rocked it. Just really great. I love the stuff they did with Grogu. But again, just weird mix of an awesome and disappointing. I don't know other way to describe it. So anyway, leave your thoughts below. Let me know what you think, and subscribe to this channel for more content. I swear I'm going to start posting more stuff up here. I swear. So anyway, thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Hopefully Ahsoka will be amazing. I'm really excited, and I hope I don't get disappointed. All right, bye.